Hi, my name is Poliwashira, and I'm a local change maker based here in Kilifi County. As we celebrate International Youth Day, together with my fellow change makers, we are reflecting on the conversations that are being had on a global level, and we'll also be discussing the theme of this year. But before we get into that, we are going to start with introductions from my right.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jiwa Lomina. I am a change agent from Kilifi County who works with rural women.
Hello everyone, my name is Oliver Kagwe. I am a change maker based in Kilifi County, and I work with young people to simplify and break down complex governance and sustainable development issues so they can understand it, engage with it, and use that information to influence decisions that affect their lives.
Hello, my name is Jacinta Mbeisanga. I am also a grassroots change maker here in Kilifi County, where I actually engage the community through community engagements to talk about matters of governance or devolution. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Elfik Tosi, a Baobab champion, an environmentalist, grassroots change maker in Kilifi, where we are dealing with the young generation in calling back the reins in Kilifi County. Thank you.
So thank you so much, guys. And the theme for this year is From Clicks to Progress, Youth Digital Pathways for Sustainable Development. What do you guys understand by this theme? Let's start with you, Elfik.
Thank you, Polly, for the question. I understand that the internet gives us a plethora of tools that, if adequately used, we can be able to accelerate the achievement of the SDGs and do them in a sustainable way.
Okay, in my understanding for this year's theme, is that this is a platform or a space whereby when youth get to engage as well as various parastatals or the governments, then we get to enhance matters of communication or flow of information to the grassroots level. Thank you.
The way I understand this year's theme of International Youth Day is that there's a big opportunity for young people to being digital natives to leverage technology and digital tools to accelerate the achievement of the sustainable development goals. Remember that we are in the decade of action, and 2030 is just around the corner, which is the deadline for the sustainable development goals. So we are at the point where we need to find innovative ways of using digital tools to accelerate and to scale up sustainable development, leveraging on the energy and the creativity and the power of young people. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I see the theme as a call to action for young people to turn our digital activities into real progress. We have all these digital skills and we need to use them for something bigger. Instead of our social media platforms to be a place where we just chat, we can use the platforms to drive conversations that champion for real social change and also to hold our governments accountable and address real life issues that affect us to create a more sustainable future.
So now that you're talking about digital tools, how can you use, in a perfect world, ideal world, how would you use all these digital tools that you're talking about to advance the work that you do in your communities?
Okay. As someone who works with rural women closely, this question makes me, I don't know, is tingle the right word to use? It does make me tingle because we have all these women who are isolated. And if you worked closely with rural women before, you know, one of their main concerns is that they have all these questions and there's no one to answer them. You know, they just have all these questions brewing and they don't know if other people relate to them. They don't know if people stand with them, if people see them. They're isolated, most of them, in what they're going through. So a perfect digital world would mean first that they would have access to healthcare information on their fingertips. They would be able to ask about this is AI, you know, they would be able to have personalized health information about how to take care of themselves during menstruation, prenatal care, even up to disease prevention. And this would give them agency and independence because they would be able to be self-reliant and not have to depend on male figures in their lives for access to this information, or even for help to understand what is going on with them. Another thing in this ideal fictional world, I insist on ideal fictional world because I know we have a long way to go before we get here. In this world, it would also mean that these women have a voice, and that whatever they say would matter because they would be able to tell their stories in their own way and connect with other women going through similar situations such as them. It would completely transform issues such as GBV and child marriage and also FGM, because you would be able to record perpetrators. Do you know how powerful that is? We've just recently come from a place where we've been able to identify criminals as citizens, and that would give them that power because they would be able to identify these people who are anti-progress, who are abusing them in their communities, and they would be able to quickly send that information to agencies that could help them, as opposed to having to cross all these hurdles, calling these people, borrowing phones. They don't even have phones, borrowing phones and all this. So that would be amazing. Yeah.
Okay. So at the organization where I work, the youth and digital tools are at the heart of everything that we do. And we try and simplify, as I said in the introduction, we try and simplify complex governance and sustainable development topics and issues into a way that every young person, regardless of where you come from, you can be able to understand, you can be able to connect with it, and you can be able to now take action based on that information that you have. If I had if the world was if the entire world was connected, if the young people in Kenya who our work is for were connected to the digital world, number one, they'd be able to get access to this information that we so much strive to get to reach them. And then I think they would also be able to find a place to voice their ideas, a place to voice their concerns. You tend to find that, for example, there's in the content creation scene in Kenya, for example, a lot of the narratives are from urban people. Rural people are left behind, and this is simply because of the disparity in digital access that is there. So you'd in this world, every young person, regardless of where they are in whatever corner of this country, they'd be able to access information, and they'd be able to contribute to conversations through this digital tools. They'd be able to say to participate even in governance, to comment on things like climate change, because there are different perspectives. And the narratives and stories of places must not always be driven by what the urban people are saying. Kenya is largely rural than it is urban. A lot of people are in rural areas and they are in urban areas. And so it is unfair. I think it is very unfair that that's the situation. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And you've talked about content creation, and it has really hit home because I am a content creator, and I started in the rural. I started in Nairobi, which is an urban place here in Kenya, and then I later moved to Malindi, which is very rural, as we all know. And in Nairobi, I remember we used to, like, the agencies would text us like on a Wednesday and say, tomorrow we have like a brand immersion and you have to be there for you to get the job. So just a small story. So I moved here to Malindi and I get an email. So it didn't occur to me that that was not the right way of doing things when I was in Nairobi. So I moved to Malindi, and now I am very far from Nairobi, right? So one day on a Wednesday, so I move here, I have work to do. And on a Wednesday, I remember I get an email at 5 p.m. that said, "Hi, Polly, we would like to give you this job, but the condition, like one condition, you have to be in Nairobi tomorrow at 8 a.m. to attend a brand immersion. Guys, if you don't attend this event, you're not getting the job." In Nairobi, that was very, like, I didn't even think, because I'll just take an Uber tomorrow morning and I'll get to the venue and I'll do the thing that I'm supposed to do, right? So I didn't get the job, unfortunately, because now I'm in Malindi. It's hit home, and so I would just like to contribute and say, in a perfect world for a content creator like me, I would imagine that that brand or that agency would have different events happening in different places, or it would be online even, to give a chance to people who are miles and miles away to be part of this thing. But it wasn't like that. So far from the perfect world.
How many opportunities like those? How many opportunities like those have been missed here, and how many people like you, how many women, young women like you, would have been at that level if those tools were applied?
Yes.
So now we have a monolith of content creators in Nairobi.
Or even
Hakuna diversity.
like just to contribute to this, or even I think it also discourages people from moving to rural places because you think that opportunities are in Nairobi, and so you have to be in Nairobi. So even if I am Katana from Ganze and I am a content creator, I'd be forced to move to Nairobi so that I can at least be close to where these brands are.
Yeah.
So it in that way it also discourages development from devolving into other places, so it saturates in towns. Yeah.
You can imagine
Yeah.
that you are in Nairobi and then you travel to Malindi
Mhm.
and you are finding it difficult to find a job in Nairobi, something that you had already knew.
Yeah.
Imagine someone who was born and bred in Malindi,
Yes.
he has never traveled to Nairobi, and you who already have the information about where you're having the agencies, where the jobs are, it is difficult for you to get that job.
Yeah.
So what about someone who doesn't know about Nairobi? Will he ever know even about content creation?
Yeah. Because I was able to attend one job, but how many times am I going to pay a flight from here to Nairobi, or even book the bus, or book, like how many times?
There's many barriers.
Yeah, there are so many. And now what that does is that if I don't get the first job, then I don't have the confidence to approach other clients to say, look, this is what I have done for this brand. So it creates more problems. And instead of me advancing, it takes me even further behind. Because now, because I have nothing to show for it. I don't have opportunities where I can go and find other people who can give me jobs. This is a sweet topic and we'll come back to it. But I think I'll just ask the question again, because Jacinta, we might have lost you there. So the question that we are answering right now is, in a perfect world, doing what you do in Kilifi County, how will these digital tools help advance the work that you're doing?
Thank you. Now, as you guys were talking about content creation, I was in my fiction world anyway already, and I was picturing it. Okay, I wasn't picturing it because I was there, somewhere there in space. I'm looking at it this way: in a perfect world, the level of illiteracy in Kilifi County will have gone down. In a perfect world, the level of poverty in Kilifi County will have gone down. And in a perfect world, we'll have more youth being able to access, be it IDs, be it birth certificates, those things that matter to a citizen of this county or for a citizen of this country. These youth will be able to access with no hurdles at all these credentials or get to meet everything. Right now, when you talk about the issue of poverty and what have you, I'm also looking at the issue of CRB. How many people are into CRB? And actually, how many people would want to go out of CRB, but they don't even know how? Somebody might have known, I am into CRB because I'm into debt of, let's say, 5,000 shillings. Now I have the 5,000 shillings with me, but who do I approach? Who do I go to? What should I do for me to get out of CRB? So these are things that I'm actually looking into. We are not there yet. And again, in this whole perfect world, with the government, with the little resources that the government actually has, be it in Kenya or here in Kilifi County, the government will be able to actually track and get to know where to put more resources. Which sector will we be able to invest in? Which sector should we increase resources probably in this year and give more input? You see, and then it will be easier because if we are looking into, let's say, the health index is actually low, then the government will be able to invest in health. If we talk about education and say that for this year probably the education index has gone low, then that simply means that the government will be able to invest in education to upscale it. So I'm in that world where the community members will be able to know who to turn to in case they have an issue. If it is on matters of peace and security, they know I'll be able to go to someone, or I'll just click somewhere and get assistance. Right now in Kilifi County, we have a hotline, which is a good thing. But again, looking into it, it doesn't work where there's an be it rain.
Yeah.
If rains come in,
Yeah.
the hotline doesn't work.
Yeah.
If there's a lot of wind, the hotline doesn't work.
Yeah.
You see? Yeah, so let's say now the rains have come, people are being affected by floods. But again, we are somewhere where if you dial that hotline, if you actually have the access to that gadget, one, because we know that most of the people in Kilifi County don't have access to the smartphones and what have you. But one, there is that one person that has it. Now, this person, if this person is to actually dial the hotline number to get assistance, and you get that the hotline is not working, that simply means there are things that we still have to do as a county. So, in this ideal world, in this specific, my fiction world, as my fellow has said it, it simply means that I'll be at a place where I'll be able to click and get all this necessary information and get all this necessary assistance, and as well as have everything being mainstreamed and every framework working as it's supposed to be. Yeah, thank you.
No, I was thinking about the hotline. I've heard people speak about the hotline, how it's working very well. And Jacinta is telling us that when there is rain, the hotline does not work.
It also pours.
Literally, it becomes a cool light and it's not even doing its functions.
Yeah.
When we go back to the question that you asked, first of all, I would like to appreciate you for inviting me here, because we have had discussions going on and we have had the climate people being put aside. But now I'm here discussing about climate on clicks to progress.
Yeah.
So me being a climate activist and an environmentalist, for us to have sustainability in this field, then there are some things that we're supposed to have. One, we'll talk about data analysis and data collection. For us to understand which parts is being affected, where is pollution being experienced, then we need data. And for us to have this data, then we are going to use the internet tools. So you see that in my ideal world, I'll see that we could have all records where pollution is taking place, where degradation is taking place, where deforestation is taking place. And by knowing the problem, we are able to solve it. Then I will base on something else where if you have that data, then you have policies that are made. So with the data, then you're going to have the perfect policies being made to enhance the climate action. And then we have something about monitoring, because we have to monitor our progress so that we can have good outcome.
Yeah.
Now, monitoring, we have a lot of tools that we can use for monitoring our progress. For example, we have people with phones who can monitor their carbon footprints. And we understand that carbon is the #1 cause of global warming. So if you are having these tools which are hastened or used to the maximum, we are going to reduce the global warming, which is nearly at 2%.
Yeah.
And we are fighting so that it does not increase. So if these tools are used very well, then we are going to cap the global warming at 2% and reduce it. It has taken us very many years for us to try to reduce the global warming. But if we are using these internet tools very well, then this is going to be just a click to progress.
I know. Okay, now we've talked about the potential of these digital tools. You've talked about the perfect world, right? So, why don't we have this perfect world here in Kilifi County?
I'm still at my ideal world,
Yeah.
and you have just brought me back to Kilifi,
Yeah.
to reality.
Back to the ground.
Back to the
your
ground.
reality. Back to your people.
And now I have just traveled back to Magarini,
Yeah.
where we are creating an 100-acre forest.
Yeah.
And now it beats me to know that even with the content that I have about afforestation and reforestation, I have to make a poster. And with the poster that I have to translate it into the local language because of the illiteracy level of my community.
Mm-hmm.
And also with translating it, I can't post it online.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are having like 60% of our population not being able to access the internet.
Wow, yes.
And if they could access the internet, then we have something else in the room. You are having the price of that internet equivalent to the income of that person.
Yeah.
My county, 68% of these guys are below the poverty line.
Mm-hmm.
Poverty line in Kilifi, it's around 3,000 Kenya shillings, earning 3,000 Kenya shillings to 5,000 Kenya shillings. The cheapest data bundle 1 GB, it's 100 shillings per day. So tell me, are you going to buy the data bundles, or are you just going to struggle to survive to make the ends meet?
Yeah, to eat, to buy clothes for my children. If they get sick, I need that money.
Why don't we have this perfect world?
Yeah, where digital tools are being used by every community member.
Great. Looking at how the world is actually composed of, or actually how it is, huh? We have counties or countries that gained independence first. There are those that gained independence last. We have those that were the forefront to actually colonize other countries.
Yeah.
So we are in different spaces.
Yeah.
And I think it is with that we have people now celebrating the digital pathways, and we are here talking about something else.
Yeah.
Looking into Kilifi context or Kenya in general, or let me say even Africa, we are not there yet. We still have people struggling to get identification cards. We still at that level where you're going to apply for a passport and wait for a whole year to get that passport. We are still at that place whereby going to school is going to require you to wake up very early, or even sacrifice food, because you either wake up, go look for food if you are let's say 12, the age of 12 to 14 or whatsoever. You either wake up, help your parents to go look for food, or you wake up and track. Is it tracking or was trekking?
Yes.
Trekking. Yeah, you trek to school, as in you go by foot. And again, these schools are actually distant. You get one school in Magarini serves over 5,000 students. Another school, it's we are not yet there. Let's just speak the reality of things here. So looking into it, I think one, we need political goodwill. Political goodwill in the sense that with those that we put in these political spaces as our political leaders, they have to bring in development that directly links with that person at the community. Secondly, when you look into donor funding has to resonate with where we currently are as a country or as a county. We cannot have donor funding to establish hubs. We cannot have donor funding where we get to purchase computers and place them somewhere. And yet we are still at that place whereby those who will be able to get to the hub or probably get to make use of that hub is 1% out of their 100. You see?
Yeah.
So we are at a point whereby we are to look into matters of poverty. How can we leverage our people economically? How can we enhance education in Kilifi County? We look at ECDs. How many of them are equipped? We look at the secondary schools. How many of them have even labs in them? We look into the libraries. Are the books in there correlating with what is actually on the ground? Can people actually read?
Yeah.
You see, so that's where we currently are as Kilifi County. What we are to do right now? What we are to
Before
do?
Jacinta,
Yes.
before we get into what we are to do and what
Okay.
we are proposing, I want to take you back a little bit. You've talked about ICT hubs. Do we have ICT hubs in Kilifi County?
Yes,
So I think then we are okay.
we have ICT hubs. I know of two. Kilifi County has 35 wards. Kilifi County has 7 sub-counties.
Okay.
And we have one by Ajira. Simply means it's not from the government.
Yeah.
We have one that was put recently in Malindi sub-county, Jilore ward, by the ministry. But again, looking at it, how many people are able to access that same hub? And how many people are able to use those computers placed in that hub? How many people are literate, actually? Because if we're talking about 71% of the population of Kilifi County being illiterate, and then you're giving us computers with people not being able to use them, it's like, I'm sorry, but we are wasting resources. We're putting in resources where they're not supposed to be there yet.
Yeah.
Because we are not there as a county. Yeah, so we recently did mapping. We did a mapping to assess the health institutions as well as the education institutions. And then we went further to assess the infrastructure as well as the equipments, and as well as how the county puts its budget allocations to the education sector. Now, for the ECD, this is what we found. We have ECDs that are currently incomplete. We have schools that don't even have those ECD classrooms, where these children actually have to sit on the floor, where these children have to take their own chairs to school, where these children have to take logs and sit on these logs. And this is an ECD classroom that we're talking about. This is where a child of Kilifi County is to get her education foundation. And then that is the state. This is where, looking at how this education sector is funded and the whole situation, we have at least 2 to 3 ECDs where they are well equipped. Now, let's talk about those that are well equipped and the surrounding. Now, these ECDs that are actually in good condition, they are in the urban setup of this county. And that simply means those in position to take their children to school, to those ECDs, have to contribute to make it be at that state. You see? And then these are the only people that get to have that foundation and get now to be at least at a leveraged position in the county. But again, looking at the geographical setup of Kilifi County, if we have few ECDs in that state and many in a very pathetic state, where are we headed to as a county? And we are that place whereby somebody, as my fellow here said, 68% of poverty, simply meaning that you have to, you're getting around 3,000 Kenya shillings to 5,000 Kenya shillings in a month. Look at the basic needs put in place, probably by the natural law or even by the government. When we talk about the children's welfare, they're categorized into 5: shelter, education, health, food, and clothing. Now, will this person look into clothing, or will this person look into education, or will this person look into shelter or even food? You see, so we are left at a position whereby we might choose food. There is a saying, I'm sorry I have to use it here, where it says, if the stomach has nothing, it will alert you. It's not like the brain anyway.
Wow.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Right. Spitting wisdom.
That is actually true.
Yeah.
So like brain. So this simply means I'll go for food,
Obviously.
and then I'll go for shelter. But I want to go for education. Neither will I go for health. You see, so our people are being forced to be at that level. And this is where the donor funding is to go to. This is where the government is to actually put in its goodwill and its resources to that point. Yes.
Thank you.
I want to talk about the government.
Okay. Before we even, I want to just bring everything together and see what Jacinta says is that a young person in Kilifi County earns roughly $27 a month. Roughly $27 a month. Think about that. And also think about there's someone somewhere who's using digital tools to make $25 in an hour. Look at that contrast. And we are supposed to tell these two young people that for you to bring change and for you to live a better life, you need to use digital tools. Think about that.
From clicks to progress.
Progress.
Until the progress is not working. I like that Jacinta has brought about political goodwill, because we are in such a tumultuous time as a country where we have our politicians living extravagant lives, with one of them recently announcing their net worth at 5 billion Kenyan shillings, which is extremely insane to me, because as a politician, why do you have access to that much money? Can you audit it? How did you get there on a basic salary? And also we have our politicians earning one of the highest salaries in the world, not even in Africa, in the world. That pay gap is too wide for us to have politicians flaunting their money, and we have children sitting on literal logs to be able to access education. We have our president going around building churches, and I mean no offense to the head of state, but you cannot go around building churches and we have children with no access to education. And no offense to the religious leaders as well, but religion is a secondary need. It is not a primary need. And I would prefer education to religion. And I think the children would prefer to go to good classes and worship in subpar churches than it being the other way around. So on that, Jacinta, I definitely agree with you. We do not have political goodwill in this country, and we do not channel resources into the right things. And it makes you wonder, is the goal to keep us illiterate and uninformed? so that we remain oppressed? Or what is the government needs to tell us what is their motive? What is the motive of treating the citizens who vote you in every 5 years? What are your intentions toward us? Is it pure wickedness, or what do you want from us? Because you cannot go campaigning, giving people I don't know if the international community will understand this, but how do I say dera? In
Traditional wear.
you cannot traditional dresses,
Coastal traditional
coastal
wear.
traditional dresses. You
Yeah.
cannot go around during campaign season giving people coastal traditional dresses, talking about how you value them, when you have put us, the international community is asking us to swim when we have never seen water. You know,
Wow.
that's the comparison. They're telling us by 2024 you should be swimming,
Yeah.
and we do not know what water looks like. So how unfair is it to even set such standards,
Yeah.
and knowing that for some people it will take years to even scratch the surface of these standards that you're setting for us, telling us from clicks to progress. What is a click?
Yeah.
What are we clicking? What is that?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we do not even have the power to engage and to even yeah, it's terrible.
Okay.
So there's there's so many things to react to.
Yeah.
But let me come back
Mhm.
to a bit of research
Yeah.
that I did. So the world has about 8 billion people
Yes.
right now, and 4 billion of these people are aged between 30 and below. Okay, so half the world. In fact, in some report, it said that this is the biggest youth demographic and young people's demographic that the world has ever seen since since it started.
Yeah.
If you break that down further now in the context of our theme, just about 3.5 billion of these 4 billion young people are in developing countries, and Kenya being one of them. So that essentially means that young people are found in developing countries. Now bring it now closer home to Kenya. About 80% of the country is below